After I dropped my wife off at the airport, my 8-year-old son whispered the words that would change everything. "Dad, we can't go home. I heard Mom planning something bad for us." Before we go any further, take a second to subscribe, hit the hype button, and like the video. It really helps the channel grow. And tell us in the comments, what would you do in this situation? I was halfway through pulling out of the departure zone when Evan's voice cut through the radio static. My hands froze on the steering wheel. In the rearview mirror, his face was pale, his eyes wider than I'd ever seen them. "What did you say?" "Mom. On the phone last night. She was in the garage. I heard her talking to someone. She said you were going to break today, that you'd sign anything once they were done with you." My heart hammered against my ribs. Brielle had kissed me goodbye 20 minutes ago, her smile perfect, her expensive perfume lingering in the truck. She'd squeezed my hand and told me she'd miss us. 3 days in Chicago for a logistics conference. Standard business trip, standard lie. "Evan, are you sure?" He nodded, and I saw something in his expression I'd never seen before. Terror. Real, bone-deep terror. I didn't go home. Instead, I circled back to the airport parking garage, found a shadowed corner on level 3, and cut the engine. My mind raced through the past 6 months. Brielle's late nights at the office. Her sudden interest in our financial documents. The way she'd been pushing me to see a therapist, casually mentioning my stress levels to friends. The way she looked at me lately, like I was an obstacle, not a husband. "Stay down," I told Evan. "Don't move." 10 minutes crawled by. Then I saw them. 3 men walking through the parking garage with purpose, not like travelers looking for their cars. They moved in formation, scanning vehicle plates. The one in front was tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a black jacket I recognized. Grant Holloway, Brielle's colleague from the corporate security division, the guy who'd been at our house for work meetings a dozen times in the past year. They stopped at my truck. I was 50 feet away, hidden behind a concrete pillar, my phone camera already recording. Grant crouched beside the driver's door while the other 2 kept watch. He pulled something from his jacket, a black package, maybe the size of a hardcover book, wrapped in plastic. He slid it under the driver's seat with practiced efficiency. Then he stood up and photographed the truck from 3 angles. The second man made a phone call. Even from this distance, I could hear fragments. "Done. He's finished. Just like she wanted." Grant's face caught the fluorescent light as he turned. He was smiling. My hands shook as I zoomed in with my phone camera. I captured everything, the package, the photos, Grant's face, the license plate of their car, every second of proof I could gather. When they left, I sat frozen in that parking garage for another 20 minutes, Evan silent beside me. My wife had just tried to destroy me. My wife, the woman I'd loved for 10 years, the mother of my child, had sent men to plant evidence in my truck. Evidence of what? Substances? Weapons? Something that would justify taking Evan from me? I knew the answer. I'd always known she was smarter than me, more ambitious, more calculating. I was just the maintenance guy who kept buildings running while she climbed corporate ladders. But I'd never imagined this. "Dad?" Evan's voice was small. "What do we do?" I looked at my son, 8 years old, scared, trusting me to protect him. "Ike, we disappear," I said. "Just for a little while." I started the engine and drove toward home, taking back roads, staying alert. A half-mile from our neighborhood, I saw them. 2 police cruisers, a vehicle from Child Protective Services, and a sedan I didn't recognize parked in our driveway. I pulled over a block away, hidden behind a delivery truck. Through binoculars I kept for work, I watched 4 people standing on my front porch. A uniformed officer, a woman with a CPS badge clipped to her belt, a man in an expensive suit who could only be an attorney. And waiting by the attorney's car, arms crossed, was Grant. They were waiting for me to come home, waiting to spring whatever trap Brielle had designed. My phone buzzed. A text from Brielle, scheduled to send automatically. "If something happens today, just remember, it's for Evan's best future. I'm sorry it had to be this way." I stared at those words until they blurred. Sorry. She was sorry. She wasn't sorry. She was setting the stage. This message would look like a concerned wife trying to help her unstable husband. Evidence for her narrative. Evidence I was supposed to never see because I was supposed to be arrested or committed or destroyed. I put the truck in reverse and drove away from my home, my life, everything I'd built. Evan didn't ask questions. He just held onto his backpack and trusted me. 20 minutes outside town, I pulled into an abandoned industrial complex I'd worked at years ago before the plant closed. The main building was condemned, surrounded by chain link and warning signs, but I knew the maintenance tunnels. I'd helped install them. We climbed through a gap in the fence and made our way inside. The air smelled like rust and old oil. Evan stayed close as I navigated hallways filled with broken equipment and graffiti. I found the maintenance office in the basement, still intact, door locked but easy to bypass with tools from my truck. Inside, covered in dust, was an old desk, some chairs, and miraculously, the building's ancient desktop computer still connected to a backup power system. I sat down and accessed our home network remotely. Brielle didn't know I'd set up the smart home system myself, didn't know I had administrative access to everything. The doorbell camera, the security feeds, the cloud storage, she'd gotten sloppy. In a folder marked Personal 2024, I found her entire plan. Financial spreadsheets showing my name forged on documents I'd never signed, joint accounts emptied, moved to new accounts with only her name, a contract of sale for our house dated for next month, with my signature faked so perfectly even I almost believed it. Communications with attorneys outlining custody strategy. Character witnesses already lined up to testify about my declining mental state, and emails. Dozens of emails between Brielle and Grant. Once custody is mine, the rest is easy. He'll have nothing. No house, no money, no legal ground. He'll disappear? What if he fights? He won't. Caleb doesn't fight. He fixes things. And you can't fix a destroyed reputation. I read every word, every detail of my wife's plan to erase me from Evan's life, steal everything we'd built, and walk away clean. Evan fell asleep on an old couch in the corner while I worked. I wanted to wake him, take him somewhere safe, somewhere far from this nightmare. But there was nowhere safe. Well, not yet. Around midnight, I heard an engine outside. Headlights swept through broken windows. A white SUV pulled into the complex, moving slowly, searchingly. I grabbed Evan and carried him toward the maintenance tunnel entrance. He woke as I ran. "Dad? Quiet, stay with me." The tunnel system was a maze of concrete corridors meant for utilities and emergency access. I'd walked them 100 times during construction. I knew every turn. Behind us, I heard footsteps echoing. Grant's voice calling out. "Caleb, come on, man, let's talk about this. Brielle just wants what's best for Evan. You know that." I moved through the darkness, one hand on the wall, Evan clinging to my neck. Grant's flashlight beam swept past us, missing by inches as we slipped around a corner. "You're making this harder than it needs to be." We reached an exit tunnel that led to the far side of the complex. I pushed through the rusted emergency door and we emerged into the night. My truck was a quarter-mile away, but we stayed low, moving through overgrown grass and industrial debris. Grant's flashlight continued searching inside the building as we escaped into the darkness. Back in the truck, Evan finally spoke. "I recorded something else," he whispered. He pulled out his phone, the cheap one I'd given him for emergencies. His hands trembled as he opened the voice memo app. I was in the laundry room. Mom was on the phone in the kitchen. I hit record. He pressed play. Brielle's voice, crystal clear. "He'll break. I know he will. And once he does, he'll sign anything. The custody evaluator is already convinced he's unstable. Grant planted the medical documentation with his therapist's office. It's all lined up. Caleb won't even understand what hit him until it's over." Another voice responded, female, professional. "And you're certain he won't become difficult?" Brielle laughed. Actually laughed. "Caleb? No. He's not that kind of man. He's the kind who takes what life gives him. He'll be hurt, sure. Devastated. But he won't fight back. He doesn't have it in him." The recording ended. I sat there in the darkness, hands gripping the steering wheel, something cold and sharp crystallizing in my chest. She thought I wouldn't fight. She thought I'd just crumble, sign papers, walk away from my son. She didn't know me at all. For the first time that terrible day, my hands stopped shaking. "Dad?" Evan's voice was small. "Your face looks different." I caught my reflection in the rearview mirror. He was right. Something had changed. Some line had been crossed that couldn't be uncrossed. "Get some sleep," I told him. "Tomorrow, everything changes." We spent the night in my truck behind an abandoned gas station. Evan slept in the back under my work jacket while I stayed awake, watching distant headlights and planning our next move. By dawn, I knew where to go. My father's old hunting trailer was located on 3 acres of state forest, about 40 miles north. Brielle had always declined to come, describing it as a dilapidated hazard, which made it ideal. We arrived just after sunrise. The trailer looked worse than I remembered. Peeling paint, filthy windows, but it was dry and the lock still worked. Evan explored while I tested the propane and water. Everything was still usable. "Can we stay here?" he asked. For now, I said. Can you fix it? I looked at my 8-year-old son, scared, hurt, and depending on me. Yes, I said. I can fix it. That morning, I set up camp, made sure Evan had food, water, and a safe place to sleep. Then I turned to the real work. My father's old desktop computer, dusty but functional, connected to the slow rural internet. I began documenting everything. I logged into every account Brielle had quietly taken control of: bank accounts, investments, insurance, utilities, credit cards. My name was still on them, but she'd set herself as primary, rerouted alerts, and taken over authorizations. She'd been building a financial trap around me piece by piece. But she'd misjudged me. 15 years in facility maintenance meant I knew building systems, security protocols, access controls, surveillance, digital and physical. I knew how to get into things people thought were locked down. I checked our smart home network. The cameras I'd installed, living room, kitchen, Evan's room, our bedroom, the office, had been recording for months. Brielle had stopped reminding me to disable them, probably assuming they didn't matter. They did. Cloud storage held 3 months of footage. I started 2 weeks back. What I found made my hands shake. Not from fear this time, but from anger. Brielle and Grant. In my home, in my office. Sitting at my desk, going through my files, photographing my personal documents. Grant holding up my medical records I'd never authorized him to see. These will be perfect, Brielle's voice said on the recording. History of workplace stress, insomnia, that fall from the ladder last year that gave him a concussion. We just spin it as escalating mental health issues. What about his parents' history? Grant asked. Father had depression. That's genetic, right? We'll make that part of the narrative. They were building a case file, a fictional portrait of an unstable man spiraling out of control. Every personal detail of my life twisted into evidence against me. I found more recordings. Brielle on the phone with her attorney, discussing strategy. Brielle meeting with a custody evaluator, painting me as neglectful and volatile. Brielle coaching Grant on what to say if questioned. But the worst was a video from 3 days ago. Brielle sitting in our bedroom, typing on her laptop. The angle of the hidden camera caught her screen. She was drafting an email to Child Protective Services. I'm worried about my husband's behavior around our son. He's become increasingly paranoid and aggressive. I've tried to get him help, but he refuses. I'm afraid for Evan's safety. I'm traveling for work, and I need to know my son is safe. She'd never sent it. Yet, it was saved in her drafts folder, ready to deploy the moment I was supposed to come home and get arrested with whatever evidence Grant had planted. I copied everything to 3 separate drives, external hard drives I'd bought years ago for backing up work files. Then I started mapping out Brielle's full conspiracy. She'd contacted a real estate agent about selling the house. The agent had a buyer lined up, some corporate investor paying cash. Settlement was scheduled for 6 weeks from now. She'd opened a new bank account with only her name, slowly transferring money from our joint accounts in amounts small enough not to trigger alerts. Over 6 months, she'd moved almost $30,000. She'd filed preliminary custody paperwork through her attorney, but hadn't served me yet. That was supposed to happen today, after the arrest. She'd even drafted a restraining order, claiming I'd threatened her. All she needed was the right moment to file it. Everything was timed perfectly. Arrest me, strip my rights, take Evan, sell the house, disappear with Grant and a pile of money she'd stolen from our accounts. She'd thought of everything, except one thing. She'd assumed I'd never find out until it was too late. She'd assumed I'd be helpless once the trap closed. She'd assumed I was exactly who she thought I was. Passive, compliant, weak. That was her fatal mistake. Evan brought me a sandwich around noon, peanut butter and jelly from supplies we'd grabbed at a convenience store on the way here. "What are you doing?" he asked, looking at the screen filled with files and recordings. "Building our defense," I said, "documenting everything your mother did. Will it work?" "It has to." But documentation wasn't enough. Evidence meant nothing if I couldn't present it, and I couldn't present it while hiding in the woods. I needed leverage. I needed to flip the script. I needed to make Brielle and Grant panic, make mistakes, expose themselves. I needed to go back. That evening, I left Evan with strict instructions to lock the door and not answer for anyone but me. I gave him my old work phone as backup, programmed with emergency contacts. Then I drove back toward town, stopping at a hardware store in the next county where no one knew me. I bought equipment, burner phones, prepaid data cards, small recording devices, cable ties, bolt cutters, a new lockpick set, everything I needed for what came next. Then I made a call. Tyler Boone lived 3 houses down from us. Retired postal worker, 63 years old, spent his days gardening and his evenings on the neighborhood Facebook group. If you wanted information to spread through our community, Tyler was the distribution hub. Caleb? His voice was surprised when he answered. Heard you had some trouble today. Police were at your place. Tyler, I need to ask you something, and I need you to keep it quiet for now. Can you do that? Depends what it is. Did you ever notice anything strange about Brielle? Any visitors when I was at work? Silence for a moment. Then, that security guy, Grant? Yeah, he's been around. More than seems professional, if you ask me. A couple of neighbors mentioned it. What have you heard? Just talk. You know how it is. Some folks saying Brielle's been complaining about you, saying you've been acting strange, stressed out, not yourself. But Caleb, I never believed it. You've always been solid, level-headed, good father. What if I told you Brielle's been lying? What if I had proof? Another pause. What kind of proof? The kind that would change everything. But I need to gather more first. Can you do me a favor? Keep your ears open. If you hear anything about me or Evan, let me know. And if I send you something in the next few days, can you share it? With everyone? You asking me to spread gossip? I'm asking you to spread the truth. Tyler chuckled, a dry sound. Son, that's exactly what gossip is supposed to be. Real information people need to know. Yeah, I'll help, but you better know what you're doing. I'm figuring it out, I said, and ended the call. By midnight, I was parked 2 blocks from my house. All the official vehicles were gone. Grant's car was gone, just Brielle's sedan in the driveway. She must have come home early when I didn't show up to be arrested. The house was dark except for one light upstairs. Our bedroom. She was probably on the phone with Grant, with her attorney, trying to figure out where I'd gone and how to salvage her plan. I knew this house inside and out. I'd renovated half of it myself. I knew which window locks were loose, which doors creaked, where the motion sensors had blind spots. I approached from the back, through the neighbor's yard, moving in shadows. The back deck stairs didn't creak if you stepped on the left side. The kitchen door stuck in humid weather but could be jimmied if you lifted while turning the handle. I was inside in 30 seconds. The house smelled like home. Coffee and the lavender plugins Brielle loved, and Evan's art supplies still scattered on the dining table. Normal, comfortable. All of it a lie now. I moved through the dark living room toward my office. The door was closed. Inside, I found my desk ransacked, file cabinets open, documents scattered. They'd been thorough. But they'd missed something. Built into the bottom of my desk drawer was a false bottom I'd installed years ago. Nothing dramatic. Just a thin panel of wood that looked like the drawer's base but actually concealed a shallow compartment underneath. Inside were copies of our marriage certificate, Evan's birth certificate, the house deed, my father's will. Documents I'd kept safe out of habit, not paranoia. I grabbed them all. Then I heard the stairs creak. Brielle was coming down. I froze, pressed against the wall beside the office door. Through the gap, I could see her silhouette descending, a dark shape backlit by the upstairs hallway light. She was on her phone. No, he never came home. The police waited 4 hours. I don't know where he went. Yes, Evan's gone too. Grant, just find them. This doesn't work if I can't prove he's unstable. She walked into the kitchen, her back to me. I could have called out. Could have confronted her right there, but I wasn't ready. Not yet. I needed everything in place first. I slipped back toward the kitchen door, moving like I'd learned in the industrial tunnels, silent, controlled, invisible. Then the house alarm shrieked. I'd forgotten about the motion sensor she'd installed in the hallway last month, the one I'd never programmed into my phone because she'd said she'd handle it, another piece of her plan, giving herself full control of the security system. Brielle spun around. Our eyes met across the kitchen. For a moment, neither of us moved. She looked shocked, then frightened, then something else, calculating. Even in that split second, I could see her mind working, trying to figure out how to use this. Caleb, she said, her voice shifting into that concerned wife tone she'd perfected. Thank God. I've been so worried. Where's Evan? Is he safe? I didn't answer. I was already moving, hitting the back door, bursting into the yard. Behind me, Brielle shouted, Grant, he's here. He's at the house. I vaulted the back fence, landing hard in the neighbor's yard. Dogs barked, lights flickered on. I ran through darkness, between houses, through yards, my heart hammering. A car engine roared to life somewhere behind me. Headlights swept through the neighborhood, Grant's white SUV appearing from a side street. He must have been watching the house, waiting. I cut through a narrow gap between 2 houses, emerged on a parallel street, kept running. My truck was 3 blocks away. The SUV couldn't follow through the residential maze, but Grant would be circling, searching. I made it to my truck and drove away with lights off until I was clear of the neighborhood. My hands shook on the steering wheel. That was too close, too reckless. But I'd gotten what I needed. The documents from the false drawer, proof that I was thinking ahead, proof that I understood the danger. And I'd seen something in Brielle's eyes when she looked at me. Fear. She was starting to realize I wasn't the man she thought I was. I made it back to the trailer at 3 a.m. Evan was asleep, the door still locked like I'd told him. I sat outside in the truck for 20 minutes, adrenaline slowly draining, the reality of what I'd just done settling in. I'd broken into my own house, stolen documents that were technically mine, ran from my wife and the man she'd recruited to destroy me. This was my life now. Hiding, planning, fighting back. My phone buzzed, unknown number. I answered, expecting Grant. His voice came through, calm and cold, professional. That was stupid, Caleb. Breaking into the house, scaring Brielle. You just made things so much worse for yourself. I didn't break in. It's my house. Not for long. And after tonight? After you showed up and terrorized your wife while she was alone? That restraining order is getting filed tomorrow morning, first thing, along with a formal police report detailing your threatening behavior. Let me guess. You'll testify I threatened Brielle? I'll testify to the truth, that you've been acting erratic and dangerous, that Brielle's afraid of you, that Evan deserves better than a father who's clearly having a breakdown. You don't give a damn about Evan. Grant laughed, a harsh sound. Neither do you, or you wouldn't be dragging him through this. You'd have signed the papers and walked away, but you're too proud, too stupid, so now we do this the hard way. What's Brielle paying you? I asked. Or is it something else? You think you're going to play house with her once I'm gone? Silence. I'd hit a nerve. You don't understand what you're up against, Grant finally said. I've ended better men than you, professionally, legally, completely. You're a maintenance guy who thinks he's smart because he can wire a camera. You're nothing. Then why are you worried? I'm not. I'm just giving you one last chance. Turn yourself in, accept the custody arrangement, walk away with some dignity. Otherwise, I promise you, this ends with you in jail or worse. Is that a threat? It's a guarantee. The line went silent. I sat there in the darkness, listening to crickets and distant highway traffic. Grant wasn't bluffing. He'd done this before, helped powerful people destroy inconvenient obstacles. Corporate security contractors learned how to eliminate threats without leaving evidence. Brielle had chosen her weapon well, but he'd made one mistake in that phone call. He'd revealed he was rattled. Calling me at 3 a.m. wasn't professional intimidation. It was personal. I'd gotten under his skin by escaping, by resisting, by refusing to break. That meant I could beat him. Over the next 2 days, I worked methodically. First, I reached out to an old coworker, Danny Reeves, who worked in corporate IT security for a logistics company downtown. Danny owed me a favor. I'd covered for him 3 years ago when he'd messed up a major system installation that could have cost him his job. I need help accessing some files, I told him over a secure messaging app. Corporate emails, communications between employees. Whose? My wife's. And a guy named Grant Holloway. He works corporate security for the same company. Danny was quiet for a moment. That's illegal, Caleb. That's hacking. Even if I could do it, which I'm not saying I can, it would be a felony. It's my wife. I'm trying to prove she's committing fraud. She's trying to take my son. Still illegal and risky. If I get caught, I'll take full responsibility. I'll say I did it myself, that you had nothing to do with it. But Danny, I'm desperate. She's trying to take my son away based on lies. I need proof of what she's really doing. Another pause. I could hear him breathing, thinking. Send me their email addresses, and their company login information if you have it. I'll see what I can do. But Caleb, this never happened. We never talked about this. Understood. 2 days later, Danny sent me an encrypted file through a secure channel. Inside were 6 months of emails between Brielle and Grant, professional correspondence mixed with increasingly personal messages, strategy sessions about managing the Caleb situation, discussions about their future plans, traveling together once the divorce was finalized, living together in a new city, building a life together. They'd been planning this for half a year, maybe longer, but the most damaging emails were the recent ones. Grant coordinating with Brielle's attorney about how to handle the custody case. Grant discussing how to manage law enforcement response if I didn't cooperate. Grant outlining how to plant evidence and ensure I'd be blamed for whatever they put in my truck. It was conspiracy, fraud, potentially criminal on multiple levels. I had them. Now I just needed to deploy it strategically. I called Tyler Boone again on the afternoon of the second day. Remember when I said I might send you something to share? Yeah? I'm sending it now. Screenshots, emails, recordings, everything. I need you to post it everywhere. Neighborhood Facebook group, local community pages, the elementary school parent network, everywhere people know me and Brielle. Caleb, are you sure? This is nuclear. Once this goes out, there's no taking it back. She tried to nuke me first. I'm just returning fire. Tyler was silent for a long moment. All right, send it. But be ready. This is going to explode fast. And Caleb, make sure you've got your evidence backed up somewhere safe, because they're going to come after you hard. I'm ready. I sent the files. Screenshots of Brielle's emails with Grant, showing the affair, showing the planning, showing the conspiracy, audio recordings of their conversations about destroying my reputation, the fake medical documentation they'd created, financial records showing her emptying our accounts systematically over 6 months. Tyler posted it at 2 p.m. on a Wednesday afternoon. By 4 p.m., my phone was flooded with messages from people I hadn't talked to in years. Neighbors, old friends, parents from Evan's school, Brielle's colleagues, everyone asking if the screenshots were real, offering support, expressing shock and disgust. By 6 p.m., the neighborhood Facebook group had over 300 comments. People who'd believed Brielle's narrative about my mental decline were now questioning everything. People who'd seen Grant around our house frequently were confirming the affair. The conversation was turning, spreading, going viral in our small community. By 8 p.m., Brielle called me. Her voice was shaking with barely controlled rage. What did you do? I told the truth? Those emails are private. You had no right to access them, no right to share them. That's illegal. I'm going to have you arrested for hacking. You had no right to try to destroy me, but here we are. Caleb, you don't understand what you've done. My career, my reputation, everything I've built. You mean the career and reputation you built while planning to steal my son and my life? Yeah, I do understand. That's the point. Grant's going to what? Plant more evidence? Make more threats? Brielle, you're done. Everyone knows now. The police know. CPS knows. Your company knows. Your friends know. You can't put this back in the box. You ruined me. You destroyed everything. You did that yourself. I just made sure people knew the truth. She was crying now, and I couldn't tell if it was genuine or performed. If you show up tomorrow, if you come anywhere near me, I promise I'll finish destroying you. Looking forward to it, I said, and ended the call. For the first time in days, I smiled. A cold smile, but real. I had her scared, defensive, reactive. Everything I needed her to be for the final phase. I spent the next day preparing for the end game, no longer just collecting evidence, but shaping the battlefield. Brielle would attack back. She was too calculating to give up. She'd use lawyers, reports, restraining orders, anything she had left, but I would control the time, place, and outcome. The plan was simple. Get Brielle and Grant in one room, on camera, comfortable enough to reveal themselves, to let their masks fall. And the best place for that was the house, the place where everything started. I set things in motion carefully. I called Nora Blake, the social worker, and left a voicemail saying I wanted to resolve custody peacefully. My voice sounded tired, defeated, exactly what they expected. Then I called Richard Chen, Brielle's lawyer, and left the same message. Willing to settle, wanted closure. Could we meet at the house? Finally, I texted Brielle. Let's talk. Tonight, at the house. Bring whoever you need. I'll sign whatever you want. I just want to see Evan. She replied instantly. 8 p.m. Richard will be there. Grant too. No tricks, Caleb. No tricks. I'm done fighting. At 2 p.m., I went to the house. Brielle was still at work, and Grant wasn't around. A small window, but enough. I slipped inside through the back and installed 3 hidden cameras in the living room, professional grade, nearly invisible. One behind the bookshelf, aimed at the couch. One in a ceiling smoke detector, covering the whole room. One hidden on the mantel, watching the front entrance. All fed into a concealed streaming device hidden behind an air return grate, ready to broadcast to multiple platforms with a tap on my phone. Clean, silent, undetectable. Then I set the final trap. A thick folder on the coffee table, filled with everything. Emails, financial fraud, fake medical reports, audio transcripts. Organized and cross-referenced. From the driveway, I tested the cameras. Perfect coverage, clear video, crystal audio. The stage was set. The trap was ready. At 6 p.m., I picked up Evan from the trailer and drove him to Tyler's house. Tyler's going to watch you tonight, I told him. I have something important to do. Evan looked at me with those wide, knowing eyes that seemed older than 8. Are you going to stop Mom? Yes. Will you be okay? I knelt down to his level, taking both his hands in mine. Evan, I need you to understand something. What your mother did was wrong. Really wrong. She tried to hurt us both, tried to tear our family apart. And tonight, I'm going to make sure she can't hurt us anymore. But I need you to be brave a little longer. Can you do that?" He nodded slowly. Then he reached into his backpack and pulled out a piece of paper, a drawing he'd made at the trailer. It showed 2 stick figures, one tall, one small, holding hands. Above them, he'd written in careful letters, "Dad, please stop the bad guys." I folded the paper carefully and put it in my pocket, right over my heart. "Tonight," I promised. "Tonight it ends." Tyler met me at the door. He knew what was about to happen. I'd briefed him on the basics the day before. He'd be ready to spread whatever needed spreading. "Good luck," he said quietly, his weathered hand gripping my shoulder. "And Caleb, make it count. People are watching now. The whole neighborhood is waiting to see what happens." "I will." At 7:45 p.m., I was back at my house, sitting in the living room in the same armchair I'd sat in 1,000 times before. The folder of evidence rested on the coffee table in front of me. My phone was in my pocket, ready to trigger the broadcast with a single command. At 7:58, headlights swept through the windows. 3 cars pulling up one after another. Brielle's sedan, Grant's white SUV, an unfamiliar silver BMW that must have been Richard Chen, the attorney. They came to the front door together, unified. Brielle knocked 3 times, sharp and businesslike, like she no longer lived here. Like this was just another meeting. I opened the door. Brielle stood there in her corporate armor, expensive charcoal suit, perfect hair pulled back, that professional smile that used to make me proud. Now it just looked predatory. Grant loomed behind her, arms crossed over his broad chest, eyes scanning the interior like he was checking for threats. Richard Chen stood to the side, expensive briefcase in hand, looking uncomfortable with the whole situation. "Caleb," Brielle said, her voice carefully neutral and professional, "thank you for agreeing to meet. I know this has been difficult for everyone." "Come in," I said, stepping aside. They entered my home like invaders. Grant's eyes swept the room methodically, looking for anything out of place. Richard moved directly to the couch and began opening his briefcase. Brielle stood in the center of the living room, looking around at the space she'd lived in for 8 years, and I saw something flicker across her face. Regret, nostalgia, or just calculation about how much the house would sell for. "Should we sit?" Richard asked, pulling out folders and documents. "Sure," I said. They arranged themselves on the couch, Brielle in the middle, Grant to her right like a bodyguard, Richard to her left with his papers. A united front, a coordinated attack. I sat in the armchair across from them, the coffee table between us like a barrier. Richard cleared his throat and began his rehearsed speech. "We've prepared a custody agreement and property settlement that we think is fair to all parties involved. Given the circumstances, Brielle is willing to offer you supervised visitation rights every other weekend, provided you complete a psychological evaluation and anger management counseling. The house will be sold and proceeds divided according to—" "Before we start," I interrupted calmly, "I want to play something." I pulled out my phone and pressed play on one of Evan's recordings. Brielle's voice filled the room, clear and condemning. "He'll break. I know he will. And once he does, he'll sign anything. The custody evaluator is already convinced he's unstable. Grant planted the medical documentation. It's all lined up." Brielle's face went pale. Richard looked confused, glancing between us. Grant's jaw tightened, muscles tensing. "That's illegal recording," Grant said immediately. "Inadmissible in any court. You can't use that." "Maybe," I said, "but everyone in our neighborhood has already heard it. So has her company. So has Child Protective Services. Admissibility doesn't matter when everyone already knows." I pulled out another phone and played a different recording. Grant and Brielle in my office, discussing planting evidence, building a false narrative, destroying my credibility piece by piece. "Stop," Brielle said, her voice tight. "Caleb, stop this right now." "Why? You wanted me broken. You wanted me to sign everything over without understanding what hit me, without fighting back. Well, I understand now. I understand everything." I slid the thick folder across the coffee table. Richard reached for it automatically, opening it. "Everything's in there," I continued. "Every email between you and Grant. Every financial transaction showing you emptying our accounts. Every fake document you created. Every piece of your conspiracy laid out in chronological order." Richard's face changed as he read, color draining. "Brielle, these emails, if these are real, if this documentation is accurate—" "They're real," I said. "I've had them verified by a forensic IT specialist. Timestamps match server records. Metadata's intact. Chain of custody documented. It's all legitimate evidence." Grant stood up abruptly. This is harassment. Intimidation. We're leaving right now. Sit down, I said quietly. Something in my voice made him hesitate. Maybe he saw something in my face he hadn't seen before. Maybe he realized I wasn't the harmless, passive maintenance guy anymore. Maybe he understood, finally, that I was dangerous now. He sat down slowly. You planted evidence in my truck, I continued, looking directly at Grant. You forged medical records to make me look unstable. You coordinated with Brielle to destroy my reputation and steal my child. That's conspiracy to commit fraud. That's filing false reports. That's a dozen criminal charges. You can't prove anything, Grant said, but his voice lacked conviction. I smiled coldly. I have video of you planting the package, from the airport parking garage. Crystal clear footage, your face, your hands placing the package under my seat, your accomplices standing guard. Everything. Brielle's hands started shaking visibly. Caleb, please, we can work this out. We can negotiate. I'll withdraw the custody filing. We can start over, do this properly. Work it out? Like you worked out how to empty our bank accounts over 6 months? Like you worked out how to fake my signature on sale documents? Like you worked out how to coordinate with your boyfriend to frame me? He's not my boyfriend, she said automatically, then realized her mistake. Right. He's just the guy you've been planning a future with. The guy you've been intimate with while we were still married. The guy you recruited to help destroy me so you could run off together. Grant's face flushed red. Richard was reading faster now, his expression growing darker with every page. Brielle, I can't represent you if these allegations are substantiated, Richard said carefully. This goes beyond marital disputes. This is conspiracy, fraud, potentially multiple felonies. I'd be risking my license. They're lies, Brielle said desperately, her professional mask cracking. He's manipulating everything, twisting facts. He's been unstable for months. You know that. You documented lies, I said. You created a fictional version of me to justify destroying the real me. You spent 6 months building a case file full of fabrications, but I'm still here, and I'm not signing anything except a criminal complaint. Grant stood again, faster this time, more aggressive. Enough of this nonsense. He moved toward me, intimidating, threatening. I stayed seated, calm, my hand resting on my phone in my pocket. You want to threaten me? I asked. Go ahead. There are 3 cameras watching us right now. Everyone will see exactly what you do. He stopped mid-step, looked around carefully. You're bluffing. Am I? For a moment, we stared at each other. Then Grant lunged forward, reaching for me. I was ready. 15 years of physical labor had made me stronger than I looked. I stood up as Grant reached for me, sidestepped his grab, and used his momentum against him. Grant crashed into the coffee table, scattering documents. He recovered quickly, spinning toward me, his face twisted with rage. Grant, stop, Brielle shouted. But he didn't stop. He charged again, and this time I didn't have room to dodge. We collided hard, grappling, crashing into the bookshelf. Books tumbled around us. He was bigger, trained in security work, but I was desperate and fighting for everything I had left. We struggled, neither gaining advantage. He got his hands on my shoulders, trying to drive me down. I braced against the wall, pushed back. We broke apart, both breathing heavy. Grant threw a wild strike that caught me in the ribs. Pain exploded through my chest. I stumbled back, gasping. Grant smiled, sensing victory. He advanced. That's when I pulled out my phone and pressed the button. You might want to check your social media, I said. Grant paused. Brielle's phone buzzed, then Richard's. Then all 3 phones started lighting up with notifications. What did you do? Brielle whispered. I'm showing everyone the truth, I said. Right now. Live. I held up my phone. On the screen was a live stream on 3 platforms, the neighborhood Facebook group, a YouTube channel, and a community website. The view counter was climbing. 50 people, 100, 200. And they were watching everything, every word, every action. Brielle's face, Grant's attack, Richard's shock, all of it streaming live. You're recording this? Richard backed toward the door. I never consented. I need to leave. You entered my home, I said. Single-party consent applies. I can record anything here. And I'm sharing it because people have a right to know who you really are. Brielle grabbed her phone, scrolling frantically. Comments were flooding in. Is that really Brielle? That guy just attacked him? This is happening live? Someone call the police. She really was planning all of it. The view counter hit 500, 600. People were recording the stream, sharing it, preserving it. Turn it off, Grant said, his voice dangerous. Now. No, I said simply. He moved toward me again, but slower now, aware of the cameras. You're making a mistake. My only mistake was trusting her. I looked at Brielle. You wanted to destroy my reputation? Congratulations. You just destroyed yours. Please, Brielle said, tears forming. Caleb, please turn it off. We can talk privately. Find a solution. You had 6 months to find a solution. You chose this instead. I held up documents for the cameras. This is proof of financial fraud. Forged signatures. Another page. Evidence of conspiracy to plant illegal materials. Another. Falsified medical records. The view counter hit 800. 1,000. Richard was at the door. I can't be part of this. You already are, I said. You helped draft documents based on lies. You're complicit. Richard left quickly. Grant looked at the cameras, then at me. You think this changes anything? Look at the comments. He did. His face darkened as he read the support for me, the condemnation of him and Brielle. This is manipulation, Grant said loudly, playing to the cameras. He's faking this somehow. It's live, someone commented. There's no editing. Grant's confidence cracked. He moved toward Brielle. We need to leave. Now. For what? I interrupted. And damage control? It's too late. Everyone knows. Brielle was crying now. Why are you doing this? You tried to take my son. You tried to destroy my life. I'm defending myself. By humiliating me? You ruined everything when you decided I was disposable. When you decided Evan was just an asset. When you decided your career and boyfriend mattered more than your family. The stream comments exploded. Did he admit they're together? While married? Poor guy. Poor kid. I let the moment breathe. Then I continued. I have a proposal. You withdraw all custody claims. You agree to fair asset division with oversight. You cooperate with investigation. You make a public statement. That's insane, Grant said. She's not admitting anything. Then I file criminal charges. I turn over everything to police and the state attorney. This follows you both forever. Silence. Phones buzzing. I need to think, Brielle said weakly. You have until I end this stream. Then I'm going to police. Brielle looked at Grant. He shook his head. Don't, he said quietly. I have to, Brielle whispered. My career is over. If there are criminal charges, there won't be if you don't admit anything. But Brielle wasn't listening. She looked at the phone, at the hundreds watching. I'm sorry, she said to me, for what I did. Say it clearly, I said, for the record. She took a breath. I manipulated custody proceedings. I falsified documents. I worked with Grant to plant evidence. I transferred money illegally. I lied about Caleb. I did all of it. The stream exploded. View counter hit 1,500. And Grant, I prompted. He helped with everything. We planned it together. Grant's face went red. You stupid. He lunged at me one final time, rage overtaking everything. But I was ready. I'd been ready since the parking garage, since I realized what they'd tried to do. We collided hard. Grant was bigger, stronger, trained, but I had everything to lose, everything to fight for. We grappled, crashing through the room. He got his hands around my throat, squeezing. I drove my knee up, catching his ribs. His grip loosened. I twisted free, gasped for air. Grant recovered, swinging. I blocked one strike, took another to the shoulder. We were both breathing hard. Brielle was screaming. Stop, both of you. But we didn't stop. Grant charged, trying to tackle me. I sidestepped, grabbed his arm, used his momentum to throw him off balance. He crashed into the wall. He came at me again, slower, calculating. We circled each other. You can't win, Grant said, breathing hard. Even if you beat me, you're still nobody. I'm Evan's father, I said. That's all I need to be. Grant lunged one final time. I was perfectly positioned. As he reached for me, I caught his arm, twisted, and drove him down hard. He hit the floor with force. I followed through, knee in his back, hand on his neck, pinning him. He struggled, but he was exhausted, beaten. Stay down, I said quietly. He tried to rise. I increased pressure. He stopped. I looked up at the cameras, at the 2,000 people now watching, at Brielle standing there crying, at the wreckage of my living room. You wanted to end my life, I said, but today I'm ending your lies. I held that position, making sure the cameras captured everything. Grant pinned, Brielle broken, the truth exposed. Then I stood, releasing Grant. He rolled over, gasping. The stream counter hit 2,500. Comments were flooding faster than anyone could read. My phone rang. Sheriff's department. They'd been watching too. I answered, still looking at the cameras. This is Caleb Mercer. I'm at 847 Oakwood Drive. I have evidence of conspiracy, fraud, and assault. I need officers here now. The dispatcher confirmed they were already en route. I ended the call and looked at Brielle one last time. She was broken. Completely. Her career destroyed. Her reputation shattered. Her plan exposed to thousands of people. Grant was on the floor, defeated, knowing criminal charges were coming, and I was standing, still standing. The father they thought they could erase. Sirens approached in the distance. The stream was still live, now with over 3,000 viewers. The comments section had become a digital courtroom, people discussing what they'd witnessed, sharing screenshots, tagging local news stations. Grant slowly sat up, his back against the wall, no longer threatening, just defeated. Brielle had collapsed onto the couch, her face in her hands, shoulders shaking. "Caleb," she said through tears, "what happens now? Now? The police come. You tell them everything. You face consequences. I'll lose everything." "You already lost everything. 6 months ago when you decided to do this." Red and blue lights flashed through the windows. Car doors slammed. Heavy footsteps on the porch. I walked to the door and opened it. 2 officers stood there, Deputy Colin Rusk, who I recognized from neighborhood watch meetings, and a female officer I didn't know. Both had their hands near their weapons, cautious. "Caleb Mercer?" Colin asked. "That's me. Come in. Everything's documented." I held up my phone, showing the live stream. 3,000 people just watched what happened here. Colin's eyebrows rose. He stepped inside, his partner following. They saw Grant against the wall, Brielle on the couch, documents scattered everywhere. "Anyone injured?" the female officer asked. "Minor, nothing serious," I said. Colin picked up one of the documents from the floor, started reading. His expression changed. This is conspiracy to commit fraud." "Among other things," I said. "I have 6 months of evidence, financial records, emails, recordings, video of evidence being planted, all documented and backed up." "We need statements from everyone," the female officer said, pulling out a notepad. "They confessed," I said, pointing to my phone. "On the live stream, 3,000 witnesses. It's all recorded." Colin looked at Grant. "Sir, I need you to stand up slowly." Grant complied, wincing. Colin began reading him his rights. Brielle looked up at me, mascara streaking her face. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." "Tell that to Evan," I said. "Tell him why you tried to take his father away." More vehicles arrived. Another patrol car. An unmarked sedan. Probably a detective. The house filled with people, questions, documentation. I answered everything calmly, methodically, showed them the evidence folders, the video files, the financial records, everything organized and clear. The detective, a middle-aged woman named Santos, reviewed everything carefully. "Mr. Mercer, this is extensive. You'll need to come to the station tomorrow for a formal statement." "I'll be there." She looked at the live stream still running on my phone. "You might want to end that now. One more thing first." I turned to the camera, speaking directly to everyone watching. "To everyone who supported me, thank you. To everyone who believed Brielle's lies, now you know the truth. To anyone else going through something similar, document everything. Fight back. Don't let them erase you." I ended the stream. The room felt quieter suddenly, despite all the people. Grant was being led out in restraints. Brielle was giving her statement, her voice hollow. Colin approached me. "Caleb, for what it's worth, I never believed you were unstable. Some of us could tell something was wrong. Thank you. You'll probably need a lawyer. This is going to get complicated. I know, but I have the truth. That's enough." The next few hours blurred together. More statements, more documentation. Detective Santos seized Brielle's phone and laptop as evidence. She seized Grant's phone too. Everything would be forensically analyzed. By midnight, everyone had left except Colin, who stayed to help me secure the house. "You did something dangerous tonight," he said. "Live streaming a confrontation could have gone very wrong. It was the only way to make sure the truth came out. No he said, she said, no manipulation, just raw truth. Still, you're lucky Grant didn't seriously hurt you." "I had to take that risk. For Evan." Colin nodded. "Your son's at Tyler Boone's place?" "Yes." "Good. Keep him there tonight. This house is a crime scene until we finish processing it." After Colin left, I sat in my truck outside the house. My phone buzzed constantly. Messages from neighbors, friends, even people I didn't know. Support, disbelief, anger at what Brielle had done. Tyler called. "Caleb, you okay?" "Yeah. Is Evan still awake?" Just fell asleep on the couch. He kept asking if you were okay. I told him you were fine. I'm coming to get him. Now? It's past midnight. I need to see him. Need him to see I'm okay. Understood. We'll be here. I drove to Tyler's house. He met me at the door, concern on his weathered face. That was something else tonight, he said quietly. Half the neighborhood was watching. Everyone's talking. Good. Let them talk. Let them know what she really is. Evan was asleep on the couch, curled up under a blanket. I knelt beside him, brushed hair from his forehead. He stirred, opened his eyes. Dad? Hey, buddy. Everything's okay now. Did you stop them? Yes, I stopped them. He sat up, hugged me tight. I held him, feeling the weight of everything finally settling. Where's Mom? He asked quietly. She's going to be gone for a while. She did some very wrong things. She has to face consequences. Will we be okay? Yes, we'll be more than okay. Tyler helped me carry Evan to the truck. We drove back to the trailer in silence, Evan sleeping against my shoulder. At the trailer, I put him to bed in the small back room, sat beside him until his breathing deepened. Then I went outside, sat on the old wooden steps, and finally let myself feel it. The exhaustion, the relief, the victory. My phone lit up with a notification. The live stream video had been downloaded and shared across multiple platforms. It was going viral. Local news stations were requesting interviews. The story was spreading beyond our small community. Brielle's company had released a statement placing her on administrative leave pending investigation. Grant had been formally charged with conspiracy, assault, and evidence tampering. The state attorney's office had opened a full investigation into the custody fraud. Everything was in motion now. Everything I'd fought for was becoming real. I looked up at the stars, thinking about my father, wishing he could see this, see how his quiet, maintenance guy son had fought back and won. I did it, Dad, I whispered to the night. I protected him, just like you would have. The forest was silent except for crickets and distant owls. Tomorrow would bring more challenges. Lawyers, court dates, custody hearings, rebuilding our lives. But tonight, I'd won. Tonight, I'd ended her lies. Morning came too quickly. Evan woke me at 7, asking for breakfast. We ate cereal at the small trailer table, neither of us talking much. He knew something big had happened. He was processing it in his own way. My phone rang. Detective Santos. Mr. Mercer, we need you at the station by 10. Can you make it? I'll be there. I dropped Evan at Tyler's again, promising I'd be back soon. Tyler looked tired, but determined. The neighborhood's rallying for you, he said. People are organizing support. Some are even talking about filing complaints against Brielle's attorney for ethics violations. Tell them thank you, but tell them to let the legal system work. They're angry, Caleb. They feel betrayed. Brielle fooled a lot of people. I know, but revenge isn't the goal anymore. Justice is. At the police station, I spent 3 hours giving detailed statements. Detective Santos recorded everything, taking notes, asking clarifying questions. She was thorough but fair. Mr. Mercer, I've reviewed the evidence you provided. It's substantial. The district attorney will likely file multiple charges against both Mrs. Mercer and Mr. Holloway. What about custody? That's family court. Different jurisdiction. But with this evidence, I can't imagine any judge awarding custody to someone facing criminal charges. I just want my son safe. That's all I've ever wanted. She nodded. I believe you. The live stream helped. It showed clear self-defense. It showed their conspiracy. It protected you. That was the point. By noon, I was done. I drove to Tyler's, picked up Evan, and we went to a diner outside town, somewhere quiet where no one knew us. Evan ordered pancakes. I got coffee and barely touched it. Dad, are we going home soon? He asked. To the house? Not yet. It's still being investigated. But we'll get our own place soon. Somewhere better. Without Mom? Without Mom. It'll be just us for a while. Is that okay? He nodded slowly. Yeah, that's okay. We finished eating in comfortable silence. On the way out, my lawyer called. I'd hired someone that morning, a family law specialist recommended by Detective Santos. Mr. Mercer, I've reviewed everything. You have an airtight case. We'll file for full custody tomorrow. Given the circumstances, it should be granted quickly. How quickly? Emergency custody within 48 hours. Permanent custody within a month, barring any complications. There won't be complications. I have everything documented. I know. That's what makes this unusual. Most custody cases are murky. Yours is crystal clear. After the call, I felt lighter. The pieces were falling into place. That evening, back at the trailer, Evan and I sat outside watching the sunset. He leaned against me, quiet and thoughtful. "Dad, did Mom ever love us?" The question hit hard. I took a moment before answering. I think she did. Once. But somewhere along the way, she changed. She wanted different things. And instead of being honest about it, she tried to take what she wanted by hurting us. That's not love. No, it's not. I'm glad you stopped her. Me too, buddy. Me too. 2 weeks later, I stood in family court. Emergency custody had been granted immediately. Today was the permanent custody hearing. Brielle sat across the courtroom with a public defender, her expensive attorney having withdrawn from her case. She looked different, smaller. Her corporate armor was gone, replaced by a simple dress and no makeup. She wouldn't meet my eyes. Grant wasn't there. He was in county lockup awaiting trial on multiple charges. The judge reviewed the evidence, all of it, the financial fraud, the falsified documents, the conspiracy, the live stream video showing her confession. "Mrs. Mercer," the judge said, her voice stern, "I've been on this bench for 15 years. I've never seen a case quite like this. The level of premeditation, the calculated nature of your actions, the willingness to traumatize your own child for financial gain, it's appalling." Brielle started crying. The judge was unmoved. "Full custody is awarded to Mr. Mercer. You will have supervised visitation only once every 2 weeks, pending completion of court-ordered therapy. Child support will be determined at a later hearing. Do you understand?" "Yes, Your Honor," Brielle whispered. "Mr. Mercer, I want to commend you for how you handled this situation. You protected your son and documented everything properly. The court appreciates your restraint and diligence." "Thank you, Your Honor." Outside the courthouse, my lawyer shook my hand. "Congratulations. It's over." "The custody part is. The criminal trial is still coming." "You'll be a witness, not a defendant. That's a very different thing." I nodded. "I know." I drove back to the trailer where Tyler was watching Evan. When I walked in, Evan looked up hopefully. "We won," I said simply. He ran to me, and I lifted him up despite him being too big for it now. He wrapped his arms around my neck. "We're really okay?" he asked. "We're really okay." Tyler smiled, wiping his eyes. "You did it, son. You really did it." That night, after Evan fell asleep, I sat outside under the stars. My phone buzzed. The house was no longer under evidence hold, and I could return any time. But I wasn't sure I wanted to. Too many memories, too much pain. Maybe Evan and I would start fresh somewhere smaller, somewhere new. My phone rang. Unknown number. I nearly ignored it. "Hello?" "Mr. Mercer, Jennifer Walsh, Channel 7 News. We'd like to interview you about—" "No, thank you," I said, ending the call. I didn't need to tell the story anymore. 3 million people had watched the live stream. The truth was out. That was enough. I pulled out Evan's drawing from my wallet. "Dad, please stop the bad guys." I had. Without aggression, without retaliation that would follow us. I had stood my ground with proof, honesty, and the determination to never give up. I won because I refused to disappear. I won because I fought for my son. Tomorrow we'd start our new life. Together, safe, free. The nightmare was finally over.